Alright. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the stream. I hope everything's sounding better now. I had to do some very impromptu changes to my audio setup. For some reason it doesn't work the same way it used to. Can't explain to you why. For some reason this room just sounds different than it used to last stream. I wonder if it was like this last time, but no one told me anything now. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I'm just gonna let everyone know it should be back up now. And we can open the game and we can get going with the video games. Ooh, I was worried there for a second that something more serious was afoot, like my mic was broken or if my interface was broken or something like that. We've had a lot of history on this stream of broken sound cards, so hopefully it's all good. Hey, hello. Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. Alright, let's boot up the game. And we get that captured. Let's see, where are we? Hello. Hello, everyone. We're now getting some wine or some shit when the gate is open. I can fix that. 1 second. I know exactly what that wine is. 1 second. Woof. What a cursed stream. It's almost like it was not meant to be today. Alright, I'm back. Hello everyone. Are we getting the wine still? Are we good? And yeah, it was a noise gate problem. The difference is that I used something else for noise gate before. Now I'm using just a regular noise gate. This one is not as good, but at least it's not popping, so I'll have to look it up later. But if the noise gate sounds good now, and there's no wine, then I am happy, and I'm good to get started, I think. You can just let me know if I need to tweak the noise gate one way or another. I didn't get a whole lot of time to do anything about it, like change the settings on it, so I don't know exactly where it should be. No, don't say Lamau. You're scaring me that something's gone wrong. Don't do it. Okay, thank you. Okay. Hey James, hello. And hey Hippa, hello. Nice to see you all. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a wonderful evening and had a good day. Playing some Dragon Age Origins today. So we are... I can't tell you what we were doing last time. You know what? I can tell you now. We were starting on the castle, Al Eman's castle last time. And we had just defended like the little village outside from the undead guys. And we're now heading into the castle proper, I think. So that'd be pretty fun. Let's see, that's the save. Let's go! We've defended the town place with the mountains and bridge and shit, yeah! What's this place called again? Red Ridge Mountains? Something like that. Red Cliff. Oh, actually I was joking, but I was almost there. I was pretty close. Is the game audio right? It's a bit quiet. But hopefully it's not too quiet. Oh. You know you got a good stream on your hands when none of your audio works right. Also, the game is a little bit upset about this loading, so I'm hoping it's not breaking right now. It's scaring me. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. We're in. Ah yeah, and we're just talking to Ban Tegan, I think. And then we'll get on with the infiltration, if you can call it that, at the castle. Wait a second, something doesn't look quite right. Wait a second. Hang on, let me fix this. No, that's too close, that's too close. Get me out of here. I wish I could have like a standardized setting for that, man. I'm sick of configuring that.
Odd how quiet the castle looks from here. You would think there was nobody inside at all. But I shouldn't delay things further. I had a plan. To enter the castle after the village was secure. There is a secret passage here, in the mill, accessible only to my family.
That's convenient.
Perhaps I should have gone into the castle earlier, but I could not leave the villagers. Maker's breath.
Sorry, I didn't take a mint before starting the stream.
Tigan, thank the Maker you yet live.
Isolde, you're alive. How did you... What has happened?
I do not have much time to explain. I slipped away from the castle as soon as I saw the battle was over, and I must return quickly. And I need you to return with me, Tigan. Alone.
We'll need more of an explanation than that.
What? Who is this man, Tigan?
Were it not for his help, Isolde, I would not be here. I owe him my life.
Pardon me, I would exchange pleasantries, but... considering the circumstances...
Please, Isolde, we had no idea anyone was even alive within the castle. We must have some answers.
I know you need more of an explanation, but I don't know what is safe to tell. Tigan, there is a terrible evil within the castle. The dead waken and haunt the living. The maid responsible was caught, but still it continues. And I think Connor is going mad. We have survived, but he won't flee the castle. He has seen so much death. You must help him, Tigan. You are his uncle. You could reason with him. I do not know what else to do.
Well, at least he wasn't an elf racist on first sight, like everyone else in his town has been. Like, last time was so ridiculous. We met, like, 5 separate, like, named NPCs. Oh, hello, thank you. Oh, no, get out of here, friggin' bot. Get the hell out of here. This is my place. Get out of here. Shoo. Yeah, we met, like, 5 separate named NPCs, and they were all like, oh, hello, elf. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And they're like, no further explanation needed. Every time. No what's allowed today? Sorry. It's been a messy day for the stream. So I had to restart my computer, hence no bots. But the bot is up. Not now. The bot is actually breaking right now. Hang on, wait a second. Okay, now there's a bot. I think you can spare me some sympathy for not having a bot up. Woofer. Hey, what about Arlima though? Is he still alive?
He is. He is being kept alive so far, thank the Maker.
Kept alive? Kept alive by what?
Something the mage unleashed. So far it allows Eamon, Connor and myself to live. The others were not so fortunate. It killed so many and turned their bodies into walking nightmares. Once it was done with the castle, it struck the village. It wants us to live, but I do not know why. It allowed me to come for you, Tigan, because I begged, because I said Connor needed help.
Well, good news, you're outside. You can just leave. To a haunted castle, just walk out of there, you know? Too many zonkies? Just leave. Enough questions. We need to decide what to do.
The king is dead, and we need my brother now more than ever. I will return to the castle with you, Isolde.
Thank the Maker. Bless you, Tigan.
That sounds like a terrible idea. This is a mistake. You're going to get yourself killed.
I cannot let Isolde return alone. Perhaps I can help Connor or Eamon. Perhaps this is really a trap, but this is my family. I must try. I have no illusions of dealing with this evil alone. You, on the other hand, have proven quite formidable. Isolde, can you excuse us for a moment? We must confer in private before I return to the castle with you.
Please do not take too long. I will be by the bridge.
Here's
See
what
you.
I propose. I go in with Isolde, and you enter the castle using the secret passage. My signet ring unlocks the door. Perhaps
Sure
I
thing.
will distract whatever evil is inside and increase your chances of getting in unnoticed.
Why do you say distract like that? Are you gonna seduce the evil? What are you implying there? It was a very pregnant pause before the word distract. What does that mean? I can't try to do this. This is insane.
What choice do either of us have? If your business with Eamon is important, you're going to have to go inside to find him. Sir Perth and his men can watch for danger at the castle entrance. If you can open the gates from within, they can move in and help you. I don't think there's anyone else who can help you. If you choose not to go, then it's up to me to do what I can. Here is my signet ring.
Thank
It will
you.
open the lock on the door in the mill. Whatever you do, Eamon is the priority here. If you have to, just get him out of there. Isolde, me, and anyone else, we are expendable.
Of course you're expendable. No, I'm not gonna say that. I could stop you from doing this, you know.
So you could, but what would be the point? Do you really want to endanger my little nephew, and especially my brother? I don't.
One fool plan on top of another.
But I can delay no longer. Allow me
Stan's
to say
face is
farewell.
beautifully rendered. You can't see it though, just off screen. Why did it frame the shot like that? That's so good. Your boy looks so sad. Well, if you were in his shoes, you would be very, very sad too. He's just this little sad, pretty boy. Also, he's got these things on his back as well. Like, this would make you very sad as well. This thing is so distracting. Remember, like, complaining about weapon enchantments in, like, WoW? Like, how they ruined your transmog? Like, oh, there's so much, like, floating rocks around my sword. And it's, like, really ruining the shot. And, like, when I'm flying around, it leaves, like, a trail of dust behind me and it's annoying. But, like, look at this in comparison. This is, like, insane. Is this the way? I think this is the way. Should you frame all the shots based on your tallest and shortest characters? Like maybe say the living the dog at, not like his dog. Yeah, maybe that's the problem. Maybe because I have the dog, the game doesn't quite know how to like frame all the characters. This is not the secret passage. But this is something I remember, but no though. I was so sad in this area here. So that this area here is burned into my mind. If there's like anything that I remember from this game, it's that area right there. Oh! The shotgun's in the wind bell, isn't it? You might have said so, but notoriously I do not pay attention. And you all know this. There we go. I remember. Yeah, it's been a rough week here for me. Rough day. So I was very grateful that the microphone also didn't break. Oof.
This is a trap. The defenders of this castle are idiots. I suspect both.
So I got a cool like shower corner. As well as you got a couple of like glass doors basically open like this, and you have a little corner with like doors to like stop the splash, you know. And I was just gonna go in the shower, open the door, and the door just falls off. And the door's fine, but I have nothing to mount my door on, so now I gotta fix my shower. Isn't that cool? Oof. Wait a second. Oh, they're not attacking me. Well, I guess I just go fight them. They're just cadavers anyway. They're enraged corpses, it's fine. So, sucks. It's pretty expensive fixing that sort of thing, and I have no idea where they got that shower either. I have no idea, so it's quite hard to find reserve parts for it, you know.
Is there anyone alive out there? Wait, you don't look like the Arlessa's guards. Are you from outside the castle?
This guy looks familiar to me, but I don't know why. He seems like a relatively minor character. You the mage Lady Isolde mentioned.
You've spoken to her? Then you know what I did.
I'm gonna lie. Yes, I do.
I'm not proud of my deed. Poisoning Arleman was what I was hired to do. Lady Isolde had no idea when she took me in to tutor her son, of course.
What about all the walking corpses?
I know it looks suspicious, but I'm not responsible for the creatures and the killings in the castle. I was already imprisoned when all that began. At first, Lady Isolde came here with her men, demanding that I reverse what I'd done. I thought she meant my poisoning of the Arl. That's the first I heard about the walking corpses. She thought I'd summoned a demon to torment her family and destroy Redcliffe. She had me tortured. There was nothing I could do or say that would appease her. So they left me to rot.
Why'd you poison them?
I was instructed to by Terran Loghain. I was told that Arleman was a threat to Ferelden, that if I dealt with him, Loghain would settle matters with the Circle. You see, I'm a Maleficar, a blood mage.
Ah, I thought you looked familiar. I had thought you dead, hunted down by the Templars.
I guess you might have been told that. I was in hiding when I was caught. But instead of killing me, Loghain made me an offer. But he's abandoned me here, hasn't he? Everything's fallen apart and I'm responsible. I have to make it right somehow. I have to.
I don't think... Yeah, we can't kill him. I think he makes a very important witness, right? So we need to keep this guy around. So Terran Loghain himself hired you?
Yes. When the Templars caught me, they brought me to Denerim to await execution. Eventually, someone came to see me, alone. It was the Terran. I'd seen paintings of him, so I knew. I thought he'd have me executed right there. But he said I could make up for my crime. He said I would be helping the country.
Well, that's interesting. But why did the Alessa need a mage to tutor her son?
Connor had started to show signs.
That's what's happening.
Lady Isolde was terrified the Circle of Magi would take him away for training. She sought an apostate, a mage outside the Circle, to teach her son in secret so he could learn to hide his talent. Her husband had no idea.
Turns out you should not homeschool your wizards. Don't do it. Maybe don't homeschool, period. I think I understand.
I never meant for it to end like this. I swear. Let me help you fix this.
I say kill the mage. He cannot be trusted.
Jowan has good intentions, but
Nah.
a blood mage. I find it difficult to trust his words.
I find you both
Give me a
highly
chance,
impractical.
Please.
We even have the page still that prevents build mage stuff. I mean, unless we just tore it apart, I guess. But do we keep him in a cell for his own good, though? I guess he's safe in a cell. But I'm letting you out of your cell. Don't try anything.
Letting me out? And what then?
You come with me, that's what.
I'm not sure that's a good idea. I'd like to help out, but I'm not so sure I want to follow you into danger exactly.
Then help. Just don't make things worse.
I won't, I promise. I will find a way to fix this somehow.
Part of me wants to leave him there so he doesn't die, but... Oh, Stan disapproves. Boo-hoo! Oh no! Oh, frig. Wait, hang on, wait a second. I am gonna change my party before I go farther. This party is crap. It sucks. I'm really gonna have to go outside of Windmill, aren't I? Yeah, I am. That's fine. I don't want Dog and Stan in my party right now. I want Morrigan and probably Alistair. So I didn't die. I only had Dog and Stan in my party earlier out of... I don't want to say pity, but a little bit of pity. Well, the Dog's fine, but I don't see how Stan is useful to me right now. This is a B team if I ever saw it, yes. Yeah. Absolutely my B team. I even tried having Liliana instead of Win, and it did not go well. It was very bad. Turns out having Win in your party or any healer is very good. God, this game loves combat, doesn't it? My granddad had a little shower bathroom gimmick, took a video by a local charity, it was pretty popular. That's kind of what I have, I guess. I don't quite understand what a shower bathroom is, but I have like a wet room. It's a room that's wet. And like the way the shower worked is that like the doors were kind of like isolating a corner to be like, you know, most of the time it's just like a bathroom, but when you need to shower, you pull up the doors and there's like magnets on the edge of the door and they clip shut, and then you had a dry corner, well, a wet corner, and then the rest of the room was mostly dry. But no longer. I guess I might want to fix it because I did think it looked fancy. Although I do kind of want curtains anyway, because the problem for me is that the doors were not tall enough. I was too tall, so a bunch of the water just splashed over the doors anyway. So I might want to have curtains. Because the doors were like 190. And like curtains look like they can get them at like 2 meters, so that should be mostly fine. Especially if I have it raised above the floor a little bit. But yeah, ugh, that's a lot of money. Especially because like just days before I broke my shower and I couldn't use my second door anymore, I actually bit into a caramel when I was visiting family. I thought there was like a really hardened bit of caramel in it, you know? You know when you like eat some candy and like some bits of it are like harder than other bits and you like chew into the bit and it softens, you know? But no matter how much I bit into this hard part, it wouldn't soften because it was fucking filling, dude. And now I need a crown and it's gonna cost me 11,000 krona. Oof. In addition to fixing the shower. So it's been rough. It's been rough over here. Yeah, at least my mic's working though. So we're good. Oh, that's demons. This is why we don't eat toffees. Yeah, yep. I learned my lesson. Like I know that I've been told that like maybe you shouldn't eat toffees, you know, by my dentist. Just in case, don't eat them. But like, after a while you just sort of forget about it, right? Like, you're visiting someone and you see some toffees on the table and like, you don't even remember that you've been told anything like that. You just eat it and suddenly your mouth feels weird. Yeah, that's a lesson. That's a lesson to me, lesson to all of you, hopefully. Don't make my mistake, don't eat toffees. It's rough out there. Especially because going to the dentist is very expensive here. Very, very expensive. Like just getting the filling redone and like doing like prep to get my crown put on later. It cost me like 3,000 krona and it's gonna cost me another 8,000 to put the actual crown on. Woof. Oh my god, there's so many! Well, what's like Baldur's Gate like this? Well, like Icewind Dale, you know, like Nevernight, like the classic sort of CRPGs. Were they also like this? That they just had like combat in every single room? I just feel like it's not what I expected. Maybe that's just me thinking about like what I expect a tabletop adventure to be like. Like if you were playing as some sort of tabletop like pen and paper adventure, you would never have like an encounter rate like this, right?
Yes.
Hello? I don't know. Maybe it's a scale. I don't know if that's good. It's kind of crap. I'm taking it. I can leave some of this stuff. Maybe? Nah, it's just kind of crap. I'm leaving it. I do not need this stuff. Oh, hang on. Possibly good. Combat in almost every single room is a CRPG tradition in a dungeon like this. Okay. For some reason, I just had this expectation that like there weren't like this constant combat. Like the... I just feel like I'm playing Dead Space right now, you know? Remember in like Dead Space, they were doing like jump scares, like quite often, but they would almost always do the same sort of jump scares, you know? So like, every time you looked at the vent, you'd be like, okay, here it comes, here comes the jump scare, I guess. The vent's gonna blow open and the necromorph, or whatever they're called, is gonna crawl out of it. Okay, let's get on with it. I'm like, I feel like that with opening a door now. I'm like, I'm gonna open this door and it's gonna be like 15 zombies. These games evolved from D&D, and D&D is extremely combat forward game. Yeah, I guess so, yeah. I guess like, I don't associate it necessarily with like being very combat-y, but I guess it is, since a lot of the rules are based around like about how combat works. But I just don't think about like those sorts of games having largely just combat. When I think about them, I feel like most of the time it's spent role-playing, right? And then like there's some suspense when they're exploring, and then like there's a guy suddenly that like, wow, I'll get you, I'm gonna get you. Fee fi fo fum, how dare you enter my house, you know, that sort of thing. I'm gonna get better at stealing. I don't think I need expert combat training, do I? No. 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 I don't. What will you get this expert stuff for? Oh, for jewel up an expert. That sounds quite good, actually, doesn't it? Fine. I think I really should have that. And do up a mastery as well. Oh, I need 36 decks. Well, I guess I'm not in a hurry to get the... I'll get to 36 already. Just it's done. That way it's squared away. I'm just squaring away my decks, you know? Could have gone to Sports Island, honestly, instead. I guess that's the alternative. Yeah, can you imagine what would have happened if you had gone to Sports Island? Your life trajectory, if you didn't reject the proposition to go to Sports Island. Things could have been so different. I love the lore of this board game group who's running D&D or like some sort of fantasy game like that, and they're deciding that actually fantasy is really boring, so we just role playing on Sports Island now. So good. Also, haste is good, and I'm very happy to have that. Let's go. Oh, I got the tactic slot. I guess you just get them naturally as well then, when you level up sometimes. Cool. Shapeshifters. Are they just bad? I don't know if I see the point. You know? At least in the spider form, you know? I think I actually want combat tactics. Oh, she also has herbalism. I forgot. There Does she need combat tactics or anything? Oh, is that for shapeshifting maybe? Hang on, wait a second. Why is Morgan starting with so many improved combat training points? When wizards don't even like have that as a requirement. I guess you get like some stat bonuses to it maybe? It says something like that, but... Where's the corpse explosion? There it is. I want a virulent walking bomb. That's what it's about. Oh, crushing prison. That's a good one. Now, Morgan's spells are really just kind of all over the place, aren't they? Why is she leveled up like that? I feel like... Oh, hello. I feel like there was very little care put into like her making her a good character. It's just like randomly allocated. Haste would make him really good at sports. You speak the true. Let's give it a try. Oh, hang on, no wait. Oh, wait. Oh, it's an aura. Oh my god, it's not even like a buff. I thought it was just like a buff I had to like put on someone. It's a friggin' aura, and I just have it on, and it just works. That is so sick. God, my guys are so mana hungry. There's no real way of dealing with that other than just chugging potions, right? Or like having like casting less spells. I guess like technically I can avoid casting. No, I can level up willpower or something, right? That seems like a bad idea. Lambone. Give it to the doggo, but I can't give it now. I don't think. Gotta wait until the camp. And let's get that haste back on. Can't remember how it works in this game, but shapeshifting in D&D is cool because it's basically free extra HP bars. Okay, yeah. Well, I don't remember exactly how it works, but like I can be let's see. I have 127 health now. If I transfer to spider. God, it takes so long as well. Do you see how long that took? On a 62, so she's got more HP. But like, now I have Poison Spit. I don't know what that does. It doesn't actually say what it does. It just says it does nature damage. I mean, it does say what it does. It doesn't tell you how good it is. And it has web. I mean, I guess this might be okay, I don't know. Who knows? But it feels like it's just better to cast the spells that are definitely broken, you know? I guess that's what I mostly mean. It just, relatively speaking, the shapeshifting just seems not as good as something that is very good. It might actually be fine. It might be pretty good, but in contrast to some of these spells that I have right now, like this one, this ice stuff. Well, it didn't do much damage to that, but usually the spells do a lot, you know? Like Walking Bomb is very good, I think. Although, I can get myself killed with Walking Bomb, right? I'll give it a try. I don't think I've cast it, actually. So you Walking Bomb now. Yeah, it hurts a little bit, but it does hurt like everyone equally, so that's fine. Yeah, basically the problem is that the automated specializations are all extremely good and shapeshifting is shapeshifting. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I was sort of suspecting, yeah. Like, I didn't know for sure if that shapeshifting was good or bad, but I felt like it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, time to style on them, you know? Time to be a spider. But I didn't do that because I was trying to, like, win. I knew I'd already won, and now I'm a spider just to like, because I have the ability, you know. It's like fun. It's like hee hee ho ho. I'm a spider now. Hee hee. But I don't see the use of it beyond going hee hee ho ho, you know. God, backstabbing's so good. Look at that. Look at the damage on that. The DPS is absurd. I'm actually really enjoying leveling up stealth as much as I did. Like, being able to combat stealth makes such a big difference, since aggro is really funny in this game. Like, enemies never give up on attacking you. If they started attacking you, they'll just follow you until they're dead. Like, they don't seem to really care about, like, other party members attacking them, anything like that sometimes. They just, like, keep chasing you. So being able to vanish, so I can continue doing backstabs, feels really nice. What are the other shapes, actually? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. The last thing isn't even a new shape. It just makes the other shapes better. Oh, you do get overwhelmed, though. Alright, so it changes the forms to be like better versions of the forms. Getting overwhelmed on bear is pretty good. That's like one of the most busted spells in this, I think. Oh, hello.
Please, don't hurt me.
I think you're the Smith's daughter, aren't you? Be silent, you're safe.
I'm sorry. I'm so frightened. These monsters are everywhere. My name's Valena. The Arlessa's maid. Is she all right? What happened to everyone?
Valena, the Smith's daughter?
You know my father. I want to go back to the village. Is there a way out of here?
There is a tunnel leading out in the dungeon. But do you perhaps just stay over now? I don't know. There's a tunnel leading out in the dungeon.
But the monsters!
I killed most of them, it's safe.
I'll find my way. I can run fast and I know the castle. Thank you.
I hope I killed enough of them. I'm pretty sure I killed like all of them. All of them? Pretty sure I killed all the monsters, every single monster, pretty sure. You'll be fine. God, how much of a bummer would it be if it counts how many like enemies are in the playstyle, and if it's like more than a certain amount, she dies. And because I left those two guys up there, she dies. No. No, that can't be right. Kinda wanna go to the smith already. See if she made it. Nah. She's gotta made it. They're all dead here. They're all dead. I'm just gonna trust that she made it. Because if she didn't, the game's pee-pee, poo-poo, dumb and bad. Even then, I think you'd rather just have a spirit healer and not let people die. Yeah, I feel like having a spirit healer in the party is like necessary, right? Like right now, I'm a bit sad I have to have both Win and Morrigan because they're both wizards, and it feels a bit like, I don't know. It feels like I've got a silly party, but I feel like I have to have Win. Like it's non-negotiable that I win. I guess like Morrigan is can be swapped out, but she has some good spells still. Oh my god, am I full now? No. Not quite. Almost. Well, I'll just destroy some stuff if it comes down. Oh, actually, I can leave this place once I'm through up here, I think. Yep. God damn it. Alright, let's destroy some stuff we don't need. I don't need that. Destroyed. Destroyed. Use some flask and bombs and shit, maybe? Rather than holding them forever. Yeah. They're like these bombs and acid flasks and stuff I can use. For sure. And all these like separate like salves and poison stuff. I can definitely use some of these salves, I think, soon. So this thing, I believe, is the thing that kicked my ass.
Well, all right then.
Yeah, Revenant. I don't know why I struggled so much with this thing, but I feel like it's pretty rude. And I didn't know about this. It's just a lever there, and you just let people in, and then you get help. You get help with it, and it's much easier. Oh yeah, there's like also like archers up there. Yeah, this is a pretty rough fight if you don't open the door. And I had no idea about the door. Oh my god, you're out of mana already. I guess it's the hastes. Oh, it's already dead. This is so easy. There's another thing here, right? This isn't the. There must be like another encounter here, other than this Revenant. I feel like there was like a lich in here or something that was like kicking my ass, but it might have been the Revenant. But like, that was trivial. Oh, I did also play the game on hard, but I feel like even playing the game on hard would still not make it that much harder than this, right? Like that was so trivial. I don't see how hard would have made it much harder. I'll take that. Garnet, thank you. Oh, come on. Get out of here. Studded leather gloves. Be gone. God, I hate this imagery. I hate how full it is.
All right.
At least you can infinitely stack things you already have. That's really nice. It's very merciful of it. Iron ring. I think that's a pointers, right? Wow, sheesh, what a hard fight is to break up that one. I was thinking that. Like, we haven't been playing for an hour, but we did just hit the hours. And I think, you know, I think it'd be alright just starting a break here, even though we played for like 40 minutes. It'd be nice to sit up a little bit anyway. Yeah, I'll be back in like 5-ish minutes. I'll just have a little stretch, get a little drink, and I'll check my posture and all those things. Yeah, be right back. See you soon. Yo, hello. I'm back. Welcome back, everyone. Hello. We made it inside. I'm wondering, before we go in, if I at all... Nah. I was thinking maybe I should go treat my inventory. With a trip to the shop or something to empty it, but I think we'll be fine. We'll be fine. I do kind of want to destroy this though. Let's pick up that. There we go. It is actually kind of semi-important that I pick up stuff to sell. Since something I did just remember now, since last time, is... there's that one woman with her, like, brother, I think, that needed to see their relatives in Danarum or wherever. And I might have given them, like, 5 gold to make the trip, so that's maybe they were giving me the soul, but it didn't. So any gold is good now. I think. No, no, no! How could this happen to me? No, I can't believe this. This game is struggling when it hits any sort of loading screen, I guess. Alright, we're back here. Save early, save often on this. I gotta like constantly quick save for each room, I think. Just in case. Or like at least before touching a door. Seems normal.
So these are our visitors. The ones you told me about, Mother.
Yes, Connor.
And this is the one who defeated my soldiers. The ones I sent to reclaim my village.
Yes.
And now it's staring at me. What is it, Mother? I can't see it well enough.
This is an elf, Connor. You've seen elves before? We have them here.
This one, Connor, is just a little guy.
I had their ears cut off and fed to the dogs. The dogs chew for hours. Shall I send it to the kennels, Mother?
Connor, I beg you. Don't hurt anyone.
Mother? What's happening? Where am I?
Oh, thank the Maker. Connor, can you hear me?
Get away from me, fool woman! You are beginning to bore me.
Please, I know how this must look. Don't hurt my son. He's not responsible for what he does.
What you doing with Bantegan?
Here I am. Here am I.
Here I am.
I like him better this way. No more yelling. Now he amuses me.
Connor didn't mean to do this. It was that mage, the one who poisoned Demon. He started all this. He summoned this demon. Connor was just trying to help his father.
No, I
And made a
doubt
deal
that.
with the demon to
Yeah.
do so? Foolish child.
It was a fair deal. Father is alive, just as I wanted. Now it's my turn to sit on the throne and send out armies to conquer the world. Nobody tells me what to do anymore.
Nobody tells him what to do. Nobody. Ha 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 ha.
Quiet, Uncle! I warned you what would happen if you kept shouting, didn't I? Yes, I did.
He's being very loud, it's
But
true.
let's keep things civil.
Might be a demon,
Now
but come
you'll have
on.
The audience he seeks. Tell us, what have you come here for?
Or... me? No reason. I think I'll just leave. Well, I came in to help if I could.
To help me? To help Father? To help yourself? Which?
All of the above. I want to help you, of course.
I don't need help. I can do everything all by myself. Isn't that right, Mother?
I don't think...
No kidding.
Of course you don't. Ever since you sent the knights away, you do nothing but deprive me of my fun. Frankly, it's getting dull. I crave excitement and action. This man spoiled my sport by saving that stupid village, and now he'll repay me.
Whee! Bye! Oh, we're fighting. I don't want to kill Ban Tegan. Hopefully it's one of those things where you almost fight him, and then he gives up. He like wakes up. I think we should probably all focus on Ban Tegan. That's usually how this game works. Oh my god, the backstabs. Stab, 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 stab. Shit, he's freaking dead! Oh. Rip. He got friggin' banned, dude. I wonder what if there was another way out of that situation. It's not like I had, you know, many options or choices there.
Tegan.
Oh, he's fine, don't worry about it. He was in a massive puddle of blood, but he's fine.
I am better now, I think. My mind is my own again.
Blessed Andraste. I would never have forgiven myself had you died. Not after I brought you here. What a fool I am.
You really are.
Please. Connor's not responsible for this. There must be some way we can save him.
Oh yeah, the random braids are so funny. Yeah, whoever mentioned that. It is funny, like, what does his hair look like if it wasn't braided like that? Does it just have like a massive backwards rat tail that's like in front of his face? Listen, it was high fashion back in train times. Okay, you wouldn't get it. You knew about this all along.
Yes. I didn't tell you because I believed we could help him. I still do.
I'm sorry, my lady, but Connor has become an abomination. He's no longer your son.
How'd you get here?
You! You did this to Connor!
I didn't summon any demon. I told you. Please, if you'll let me help.
Help? You betrayed me! I brought you here to help my son, and in return you poisoned my husband?
He did do
Is
that.
the mage you spoke of? Didn't you say he was in the dungeon?
He was. I assumed the creatures had killed him by now. He must have been set free.
Who could have done something like that? That's right, and I stand by my decision.
I know what you must think of me, my lady. I took advantage of your fear. I'm sorry. I never knew it would come to this.
Well, I shan't turn away his help. Not yet. And if Connor is truly an abomination...
He's not always the demon you saw. Connor is still inside him, and sometimes he breaks through. Please, I just want to protect him.
Isn't that what started this? You hired the mage to teach Connor in secret, to protect him.
If they discovered Connor had magic, then they'd take him away. I thought if he learned just enough to hide it, then...
So you had no idea the man you hired was an assassin?
None. I trusted Logain. Why wouldn't I?
I mean, look at him.
The mage he sent would be a murderer.
He's the sketchiest person I've ever seen.
Your plans. Do you not realize what you've done, Isolde?
Eamon would only demand we do the right thing. I was not going to lose my son. Not to magic.
Now you may lose him anyway, and so much more.
No, please. There must be another way. There must be something we can do.
Joan, what can you add to this discussion?
The demon in Connor needs to be destroyed. Killing Connor is the easiest way to do that, certainly. But there is another way. A mage could confront the demon in the Fade
No!
without hurting Connor himself.
Don't do it!
What do you mean? Is the demon not within Connor?
Not physically. The demon approached Connor in the Fade while he dreamt and controls him from there. We can use the connection between them to find the demon.
You can enter the Fade then?
But you shouldn't.
And kill the demon without hurting
It's not
my
very
boy?
fun in there.
No, but I can enable another mage to do so. It normally requires lyrium and several mages. But I have blood magic.
What difference does that make?
Lyrium provides the power for the ritual, but I can take that power from someone's life energy. This ritual requires a lot of it, however. All of it, in fact.
So, someone must die? Someone must be sacrificed?
Yes, and then we send another mage into the Fade. I can't enter because I'm doing the ritual. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything. It's not much of an option.
No, it's not an option at all.
I understand.
I disagree. I think we should do it. Let it be my blood. I will be the sacrifice.
What? Isolde, are you mad? Eamon would never allow this.
Either someone kills my son to destroy that thing inside him, or I give my life so my son can live. To me, the answer is clear.
Blood magic. How can more evil be of any help here? Two wrongs don't make a right.
Can we even trust this Jowan to do as he promises? Give him access to such power, and who knows what he shall do? I am uneasy.
God, I got a part of such
Does he
dogs.
Like a sensible choice, with a willing participant.
Connor is blameless in this. He should not have to pay the price.
It's up to you, my friend. You know more about such things than I do, and it's your companion going into the Fade. The decision is yours.
There must be another way to enter the
You
Fade.
can find lyrium and more mages at the Circle of Magi, if they would even do it.
I guess things could get worse if you take too long to consider. Maybe that's the best option. We've already got the assistance of the mages after all. We already freed the tower, right? And they owe me.
Indeed. It should not be difficult to get what is needed, provided we have the time.
But what will happen here? Connor will not remain passive forever.
What are the other
Still,
options?
we must make a decision.
Are you sure you're ready to die?
If there is even a chance to save Connor, I am.
You rest your hopes on this young mage? He poisoned Eamon, and he could take your life power and attack for all we know.
He would be a fool to try. No, I am willing to take his word. I would give my life for the chance to undo what I have done.
I still do not agree, but it cannot be my choice.
Then I know what we must do.
My son awaits your decision. Make it quickly.
Oh, I guess if we just if we forget the ritual, isn't that just killing the child? That would be the easiest option. I will go to the Circle of Magi. That is my decision.
Very well. I will keep Jowan here as a precaution. He says he wants to help, so he will keep an eye on Connor with us. Go to the tower quickly then. The longer you are away, the greater the chances of disaster.
This strikes me as probably the worst option. But how do I even leave? I have to go out a long way? Sheesh, no. Oh, of course they're living suits of armor. Of course, naturally. Oh my god, there's so many of them! What is going on? Why is there a sun in the middle of this room now? Who's casting that? Is that Win? Is that your haste? Is that what haste looks like? That's a lot. Speaking of D&D, which is apparently plans to charge like $30 a month for D&D Beyond. That is a lot of money. Isn't D&D Beyond basically just like a chat client? Probably. Is it Roll20? Is it like a chat client with like a little map thing? And like you can roll like die and stuff in there? It's that sort of thing, right? Does sound like a lot of money for something like that. I don't know what the price of Roll20 is per month though, but I imagine it's probably cheaper than that. I guess like, couldn't you kind of replicate something like that with Discord nowadays? Wouldn't be nearly as good, of course, but you could probably have like a bot that does a lot of those things for you, right? To look up spells and to cast spells and things. Do actions. Alistair's mother's amulet. I wonder who I give that to. You have a dice roll bot in your Discord? Yeah, I was thinking that seems like a quite obvious application of that. I'm gonna give it a thing already. Is it gonna have a really are we gonna have a really touching moment in this haunted castle?
This is my mother's amulet. It has to be. But why isn't it broken? Where did you find it?
I found it in Redcliffe Castle in study.
Oh, the Arl study? Back when Arl Eamon told me I was being sent to the Chantry, I took my mother's amulet, the only thing I ever had of hers, and shattered it against the wall. I was so angry. So he must have found it and had it repaired. Why would he do that?
Perhaps you mean more to him than you think.
I guess you could be right. We never really talked that much. And then the way I left... Thank you. I mean it. I thought I'd lost this to my own stupidity. I'll need to talk to him about this if he recovers from his... When he recovers, that is. I wish I'd had this a long time ago. Anyhow, let's go. And thanks again.
You're welcome. And you got minor constitution. Yum yum, a little bit more health or something. Bone? Bone? Ah, money. Nice. Alright, let's scooch over to the wizard tower again, I guess. You don't have the key on you, do you? I'm gonna talk to him and see if he has the key.
There has been no sight of the...
We received no word from the Circle of Magi yet. Connor remains quiet, as you wish.
Does no one have a key? It's really annoying me that I can't just walk through this door here. Oh,
I'm off.
Fine. Oh, hang on. Oh, I don't have to go that far. Of course, I forgot I opened this door, this thing here. I thought I had to go through that like underground bit again. I was like, oh my god, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, the circle tower is really far away, isn't it? Ooh. This does not strike me as the optimal solution to this problem. I feel like I'm about to cause a lot of trouble. Oh, Connor is.
Oh, thank the Maker. We need help. They attacked the wagon. Please help us. Follow me. I'll take you to them.
A lot of these bandit scenarios all start the same, don't they? Here they are, attack him! Get him! That bird is so excited to be there. What's going on with the bird? It's so big and so bouncy.
The Grey Warden dies here.
She was a wizard the whole time. What about the bird though? Is that there? I guess that's gone now. Let's see. What do you mean traveler? These guys. What do you mean these guys are travelers? I bet if I just attack Zevran, they'll just give up, right? No, he just dies. Okay. Well, it seems. Oh, I was gonna say he seems like the biggest problem here, but I guess he's not, is he? That's definitely gonna be the mage over there. Dude, fireballs are so nasty. Don't die, please. Okay, that was way too slow in the potion start. And I almost got the kill. Oh my god. Wow, that's really... She's got a friggin' backstab trap for people trying to do backstabs. Who does that? Oh my god, there's more traps. No, that's not a trap. That's a pin shot, isn't it? I don't even get up there. Guess I'll just walk up there in stealth. God, I love grouping so much. It's so good. Can I do some traps? Nope. Oh, I got so many traps. No, don't come back here. Attack him. There must be no way up. No, there is a way. There is a way. There's tripped up a bomb on the way up there. There it is. Oh, silly encounter. Wakey, wakey.
Oh, what? I rather thought I would wake up dead, or not wake up at all, as the case may be. But I see you haven't killed me yet.
Embarrassing. I have some questions.
Ah, so I'm to be interrogated. Let me save you some time. My name is Zevran. Zev to my friends. I am a member of the Antivan Crows, brought here for the sole purpose of slaying any surviving Grey Wardens, which I have failed at, sadly.
I'm rather happy you failed.
So would I be, in your shoes. For me, however, it sets a rather poor precedent, doesn't it? Getting captured by a target seems a tad detrimental to one's budding assassin career.
You don't seem like the greatest assassin, I have to admit. More like a highwayman rather than a assassin. Who hired you?
A rather taciturn fellow in the capital. Logain, I think his name was. Yes, that's it.
Of course it was. Does that mean you're loyal to Logan?
I have no idea what his issues are with you. The usual, I imagine. You threaten his power, yes? Beyond that, no, I am not loyal to him. I was contracted to perform a service.
And now that you've failed that service?
Oh, well, that's between Logain and the Crows, and between the Crows and myself.
Between you and me?
Isn't that what we're establishing now?
How much were you paid?
I wasn't paid anything. The Crows, however, were paid quite handsomely, or so I understand. Which does make me about as poor as a chantry mouse, come to think of it. Being an Antivan Crow isn't for the ambitious, to be perfectly honest.
No, this sounds like a terrible rotten deal. I don't know why you went for this. Then why are you one?
Aside from a distinct lack of ambition, I suppose it's because I wasn't given much of a choice. The Crows bought me young. I was a bargain, too, or so I'm led to believe. But don't let my sad story influence you. The Crows aren't so bad. They keep one well supplied. Wine, women, men, whatever you happen to fancy. Though the whole severance package is garbage, let me tell you. If you're considering joining, I'd really think twice about it.
I'll take that as an advisement, thank you.
You seem like a bright lad. I'm sure you've other options.
When were you to see him next?
I wasn't. If I had succeeded, I would have returned home and the Crows would have informed your Logain of the results, if he didn't already know. If I had failed, I would be dead, or I should be, at least as far as the crows are concerned. No need to seal again then.
Yeah, that saves us some trouble. Dying doesn't seem like that bad a deal. If you had failed.
What can I say, huh? I am an eternal optimist. Although the chances of succeeding at this point seem a bit slim, don't they? No, I don't suppose you'd find that funny, would you?
Why tell me all this?
Why not? I wasn't paid for silence. Not that I offered it for sale, precisely.
Were you paid to talk my ear off then?
Consider it something I'm throwing in for free. As it is, if you're
bargain.
done with the interrogation,
I see what the bargain is now.
for you, if you're of a mind.
I'm listening.
Well, here's the thing. I failed to kill you, so my life is forfeit. That's how it works. If you don't kill me, the crows will. Thing is, I like living. And you obviously are the sort to give the crows pause. So let me serve you instead.
What do you want in return?
Well, let's see. Being allowed to live would be nice, and would make me marginally more useful to you. And somewhere down the line, if you should decide that you no longer have need of me, then I go on my way. Until then, I am yours. Is that fair?
Very well, accept the offer. How could I reject this guy? I mean, it seems so bright and so full of prospects.
What? You're taking the assassin with us now? Does that really seem like a...
Well, I took you with us. I mean, this is not really that, this is not really much of a step down, really. More of a step up from you. Don't worry about it, we could use him.
Alright, I see your point.
Do you?
If there was a sign we were desperate, I think it just knocked on the door and said hello.
A fine plan, but I would examine your food and drink far more closely from now on, were I you.
That's excellent advice for anyone.
Yeah, only canned food for everyone now.
I hereby pledge my oath of loyalty to you until such a time.
You all get your own can openers.
From it. I am your man.
Do not use the
without
tab.
reservation. This I swear.
Everyone loved that, I'm sure, too. Oh, now we can have, like, the sickest party. Are you ready for optimal Dragon Age? Let's go. Morrigan, Alistair disapproves? Well, you're out of the party then. Listen, what I need are dogs that can be thugs with me. I don't need these cats that wouldn't catch slugs for me, you know?
Yes.
This is much more useful. 3 rogues and a dog. Yeah. Well, if you think about it, dogs are kind of like the rogues of the animal world. If you think about it. Much like how octopuses are kind of like the gorillas of the ocean. If you think about it. So what? I think you're an assassin, aren't you? Yes. But you don't dual wield. I guess. But you do have dual weapon training. This guy is not good at his job. I don't understand. Oh, 2-dex belt though. I would have liked that for this keeping for himself. Rude. You can have his rings. Hey sailor, you can have the sailor charm. Vessel. Someone needs to have it. Oh yeah, I got all these like tattoos and stuff. War paints rather. Should I give any of them to dog? Not really. Physical resistance seems good. 2 armor pen, 8 armor. So that one's just worse version than that. I don't need that. I don't need either of these. Destroy them. No, I can sell them. There's probably gonna be a vendor soon somewhere. What do you need for a bard? Is it loads of cunning? Probably loads of cunning, right? Cunning and dex. I guess I should be trying to max out Device Mastery on Leliana rather than a rogue. I'm gonna level up her bard stuff though, because she's the bard. And maybe I'll need that at some point. Strong dog. Oh, that's Overwhelm. I definitely need to go there. I feel like I remember Overwhelm being very, very annoying and very busted, right? You just like stun someone for like 15 seconds, I think. Here we go. Oh. I thought it was gonna be a bit of travel to like get into the tower and everything, but I guess not.
You really killed all those. I'm sure you
Sure
need
did.
supplies after that.
Alright. I got loads of trash and I want to donate it to you. Ooh. Actually, I don't know what sort of leather armor that I'm wearing. I can see right now. Yeah, tier 3 actually. Oh, I guess I should keep this tier 4 studded stuff. It's actually better. I haven't gotten like any like fun armor yet, I feel. It's been a lot of like, it's slightly high armor, I guess. Not like any enchants on it or anything. Don't think Alistair...
You really killed. I'm sure
He hasn't had a shield upgrade in a while, has he? I'll sell one of them, but I'll keep the other one just in case. Because I feel like at some point he's gotta have like an actual like upgrade to shield. Let's sell all of these. I don't want to like lug around like endless amounts of stuff. Morgan's robes might be good still, I don't know. Alright, that'll do for now. No steel.
My men have scouted the tower. It's a mess, but the abominations are gone. You are very thorough. I'm impressed.
Someone had to do it.
And I am thankful you arrived when you did.
All is well, but I'm afraid I can't stay.
I shan't keep you then. Farewell.
God damn it. Maybe I'll talk to you, Irving.
Welcome back, friend. You'll be glad to learn that the Circle is well on its way to recovery.
Doesn't look like it, but I'll take your word for it. Can the Circle go to Redcliffe to save a possessed child?
Child is possessed. But killing the demon would mean killing the... Unless you intend to enter the Fade. Yes. Yes, it can be done with a group of mages. I shall gather what mages I can, and we shall leave promptly. A life is at stake.
Oh, that was easy. Didn't take any convincing at all, I guess. We just go now.
All right.
And hopefully he's still doing fine. He's just a little bit possessed, you know. Oh my god, I keep getting ambushed. Perfect timing though to try out a cool new party. What is this? Adventurer leader. What the heck? What the heck? What is this? Right, before we do anything, I have to collect these herbs. And then we may talk. Alright, what's up, adventurer leader?
Rough travels out here, eh? We even saw Darkspawn on the way in.
You don't say.
Right, Darkspawn. We killed a whole band of them on the way up from Lothering. We're delivering a message to the Chantry in Denerim. You?
I'm here to stop you? Why would I stop them? What's the message about?
We saw a blood mage down near the Brazilian forest. We're off to tell the Chantry about him.
I'm here to stop you.
I thought you said... Wait, you're serious?
Why not let us deliver your message?
I suppose that's all right. As long as it gets there. Stay safe.
Thank you. Why? I don't understand the persuasion system. I think there's only one check so far that we failed. Like one. I can't quite think of exactly which one it was, but I've been very... Yeah, I couldn't convince the kid to part with the sword. That's it. That's the one thing I failed. Oh. Sneezy. Hey, hello. You alright in here? Hello.
The mages are waiting to start the ritual.
The mages wait to perform the ritual. I do hope
I
this
told
is
you the
worth
only
the
thing
time
I
it has
can
taken
think
to
of that
assemble
might
them.
help.
Oh, it seems like everything's fine.
We have brought lyrium and begun preparations for the ritual. We can start any time.
Only one person can go through.
Yes, we haven't sufficient lyrium at present to send more than one mage into the Fade.
Do you have any last-minute advice?
It truly depends on the manner of demon. It sounds like a spirit of greed and desire, one of the more powerful in the hierarchy. It will likely engage you in dialogue and tempt you with an offer. Avoid it. Making deals with demons never turns out well.
Are you sure this is the only way?
It only works because the child gave himself to the demon willingly. If the demon takes over the host forcibly, we must slay the abomination. We have only enough lyrium for one attempt. I hope you succeed. Such a young lad deserves better than execution.
Let's do this now.
Very well. Who will go into the Fade?
I have to think about it.
Then return when you are ready, but do not tarry.
I'm just gonna quickly save the game here. Stream 6.
We are ready to proceed when you are. Very well. Who will go into the Fade?
I think Win is going.
Then I assume you must get her from your camp.
Oh, god damn it. Having the fucking mages in my party. So you're asking earlier, D&D Beyond is a virtual tabletop? Yeah, I think, Roll20, etc. I think that's shit like character creation, account building, need to share purchase content with other players, support you adding in homebrew, etc. It sounds like an alright service, just not $30, right? Like, if you're really into that sort of thing, that all sounds like stuff you'd like to have if you're actively playing D&D with friends, right? But that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for... I mean, basically nothing, right? I mean...
Yes.
It's like... You're not getting it, you know what I mean? You're not getting anything for subscribing to this thing. They're just letting you on the servers. And that's a lot of money for that sort of thing, I feel. There's no way they're gonna like kill my wizard or anything like that, right? There's no way. What if they actually killed my wizard? That'd be messed up. Nah, there's no way. They're not gonna. I think Morgan would be very upset if I sent her in. I think she would hate me forever.
We are ready to proceed when you are. Very well. Then let us begin forthwith.
When is going? Oh, she didn't care much. She had nothing to say. Supposedly gonna add some AI DM shit so you can basically just play a video game. Have these guys heard of AI Dungeon? Yes, that sounds like what this is.
Father, where are you? I don't understand. So cold. I want
Like,
to go home.
I guess it's multiplayer AI Dungeon.
Hello! You there? Have you seen my son? I can hear him, but I cannot find him. This blasted fog has me turning in circles.
Let's try to get through to the owl.
You are in the Fade, my lord. A demon has you trapped.
Demon? Fade? Is my son in danger?
He is. But I will do my best to see that all of us emerge from this unscathed. Trust me, my Earl.
Yes, I trust you. We must help my son. But I can never find him in this fog. You must find Connor. Please, I beg you. Bless it up.
Freaking Fade, dude. Oh my god, I can't believe we're back in the Fade, dude. I hate this place. I thought we're done with it. Hey, Connor. Hello.
Who are you? Are you the one that made Father ill? Tell me now.
I'm gonna be
Child,
nice.
Calm down. It's all right. I won't hurt you.
No! You're here to hurt Father. I know it. I won't let you.
Oh yeah, sending in the Blood Mage would... Well, maybe not, but I was thinking like... Sending a Blood Mage would probably be a bad idea, because he poisoned both of them. Neither of these guys would probably trust him, but I guess it has probably the same outcome. Hey, demon. Bonk. I was thinking like, I don't know if like Win like can like even like kill anyone though, really. But she does have the bonk, so that's enough. And she has this zap. Oh my god! Hey, that was more damage than I thought it was gonna be. Nice. I thought he said it was one of the stronger demons of the hierarchy. The heck? Well, I suppose demons don't have the hierarchy. It might not be based on skill after all. It was an illusion yet again.
You're the one making Father sick. I'll help him. You
Oh,
can't
hey, Connor.
stop me. Why do you keep hurting me? Why are you trying to stop me?
Hello?
Listen to me. I am just trying to help.
I will not speak with you! Trespasser! I will drive you out!
Oh, I guess this demon isn't much in the way of negotiation. Bonk. Oh my god. Yeah, I was a little bit worried that this wouldn't go well. That's kind of why I was thinking of sending in Morgan, because she at least has some spells that can, you know, hit things and do damage to things, but everything is so squishy in here, it's totally fine.
Get out of here! You have to get out!
Away, away! You're not wanted here!
Stop you! I will!
Don't go to the place where I came from. No, that's not right. Is it?
You!
I guess so.
You're the one making Father sick! Please forgive me.
God, Wynn's walk cycle is so good. The combat one is even better though. God, when she was going down the hill, that was so funny.
Trapped within my web. All is as it should be. Why must you interfere?
Because you have taken a child and trapped a good man in this place against his will.
No. It is time for you to go now. Do not persist, or things will go very badly for you.
Silly demon. They didn't get the memo that shapeshifting is just not worth it. 2 of them. We'll go for this one first anyway. Zappy. I might actually need to cast some heals for this one. Owie. Oh my god. Oh, that hurts. That really hurts. That's fine. Once our cooldowns go off, we can at least do a good amount of damage. And... oh, excuse me? What? Oh, here I am. That's weird. Yeah, once we can isolate an enemy by itself, we should be fine. There we go, yeah. We're fine now, but I don't look forward to the fight where I have to fight 4 demons. I'm assuming that's where this is going. I guess a rock armor could be good. Bonus to armor, nah. Just because I'm doing mostly magic. I don't think a rock armor is gonna do me much good. Is a demon supposed to be in the ground like that?
Very well.
No, I don't think she is.
No more illusions. Now we meet face to face. You see my true form and stand in my domain. It is here I am most powerful.
Booba.
And yet I have no wish to engage your power, nor should you be so eager to engage mine. Perhaps we should converse instead?
No.
There will be no discourse between us, demon.
Alas, that is sad. Very well then. If you wish a battle, you will have it. Let us see if your power matches your boldness, creature.
Oh no, I'm a bit concerned about this. A little bit concerned about this. I was gonna cast all these different spells. Oh, I can stun her though. Yeah, that's pretty good. Why can't I cast Rejuvenate on myself? Huh. Yeah, I'm just not allowed to. Pretty whack. Oh! I think you do missiles, don't you? I'll do that. And then this is... oh, resistance to like spell stuff as well. Good. And then we just... sip, sip, sip. And then I think we just kill you. Oh, it's doing a little bit of damage still to me. Excuse me? I have a feeling it's that one. It might be that all of them are like T-posing, except for that one, but who knows? I can't do much about this. There we go, I'm feared. Zap! Oh, hang on, there's the Lyrian vein. I don't have to drink potions, I can just sip from that. Oh, there's like many of them. What? Oh, so they resist spells, but not just attacking them. That's what I'm supposed to do. I see. Owie, stop that. So that didn't heal me as near as much as I thought it would. Did it heal me at all? Doesn't seem to do much. Huh. This bubble's super lame, dude. I hate it. Oh, can I? Oh, I can't cast this bomb. I need poison making for that. That sucks. Oh, that spell shield sucks, man. It's so annoying. Stop it. I guess I can't cast any spells. I just have to auto attack and just keep healing. I was hoping to speed things up, but I guess we're just doing this. Who could it be? What if it's this one? Yeah, just right-clicking it. That works, I see. Nice one. Good job, Win. You did it. What do these things do? Oh, they do regen your mana a little bit, I guess. Whoa, that was a weird loading screen. Are you seeing that on the stream as well? You are. What? There will be no discourse between us, demon. It's a very handy life for online life. Yes. I was watching like the old Peter Pan movie, and at some point, there's like the bear tells the long snake, "Be gone, long one," and I was like, oh my god, I'll be using that for any tall or long person from now on. Be gone, long one. Yeah, like Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast have been like milking the hell out of Magic, and I guess they're coming from D&D now because it wasn't making all the money.
He does not seem to remember anything, which is a blessing. I suppose we will need to send him to the Circle of Magi's tower for training once the war is over. It's so odd to think of the boy as a mage, of all things. Eamon has much to mourn and rebuild should he recover. But at least he could be thankful that both his son and wife are safe.
I owe you my deepest thanks. I can scarcely believe Connor is the boy he once was.
There is still the matter of Jowan. His poisoning Eamon began this whole mess, yet he lives. I must decide what becomes of him.
He sounds like an important witness.
If he doesn't recover, Jowan's fate is sealed. What do you think?
Why do you want my opinion?
You spoke with him, have you not? You know what he has done better than I do, even.
Would you find him useful?
I would not trust him, but I would not presume to tell my brother what to do.
I mean, one of these options definitely should be, like, using to testify against the Terran, right? I mean, like, you have proof. You have a proof and witness that's of like a plot to assassinate the Ali, right? Why are you killing him? Not do whatever you want with him.
Released?
I would like him released.
Are you mad? Why would you do such a thing?
I agree with Isolde. He's a Maleficar. We cannot simply unleash him on the land and ignore his crimes.
Why not? This isn't your problem.
Perhaps you are correct. But that is Eamon's decision, not mine. I'm sorry. Jowan stays in the dungeon for now. But our task is not done yet. Whatever the demon did to my brother, it seems to have spared his life, but he remains comatose. We cannot wake him.
The urn. The urn of sacred ashes will save Eamon.
The urn is a legend. It might never be found.
That is a possibility. But there is a reason it's still an option. I am not simply grasping at straws.
My husband funded the research of a scholar in Denerim, a brother Genetivi. He has been studying the inscriptions on Andraste's birth rock. When Eamon fell ill, I sent the knights to speak to Genetivi. I hoped that he had finally discovered the location of the urn of sacred ashes itself. They were unable to locate Genetivi. In desperation, I sent more knights in search of the brother, or some clue of the urn's location.
Let's see if I can find this relic.
No one else can. Even if I wished to do it myself, I cannot abandon Redcliffe to its own devices. Perhaps you could seek out the brother's home in Denerim and see if any clues remain on his whereabouts. It is the only place to begin the search, I think. I must go to the hall and begin rebuilding. I wish you luck.
Good luck with
that.
that.
May the Maker go with you.
that went well. Nice.
You saved my son's life, as well as my own. I would always...
You know, I kind of thought there would be more consequences to the mage thing. I wonder if there's like a difference that happens if you haven't cleared the mage tab already. Maybe if you haven't done it already, then you don't have enough time to like clear that whole trouble up and then go back here. Like, if you do that, then things might have gone like very, very poorly in the meantime. But maybe there's just no consequences to ever going to the mage tower first. That's very silly. Our Lehman looks a little improved. Unless someone finds a cure soon, he would likely die a slow and painful death. Well, I guess I didn't do much good here. I tried. We gotta go to Denerim then, and get the dragon sword that I wanted. I think that's up here. Yeah, it is. So I think the locations I have is the Brazilian outskirts and Denerim. I guess you can just go to Denerim. I guess the order doesn't matter too much. Yeah, like usually I think I would have done this place first. That's what I felt in my first playthrough. I did this first because it was closest to the camp. And I think that's why I struggled with this a lot more than I did now. Like now it was pretty easy. It was like a cakewalk. Like the one thing that like took some resources to manage was the fade bit, where I kind of had to chug a lot of potions with Win in order to kill the demons. Particularly the last one, who kept doing like spell shields. That was pretty rough. But the Revenant that was like kicking my ass before, that was totally fine now. Totally fine. But isn't there like another Revenant down there though? Like, because you can kind of like summon some like liches and stuff, can't you? Oh, it's a Volta. But I can't get in. Perhaps I can have a try at that. Do you have any skill at getting into this sort of thing? Who knows? I'll exit here, I guess. I don't know if you have much else to do here. I don't know how to get out though. We can exit here and then we'll have a little break. Oh my god, what? Oh, over here, I see. I'd love to get back in that vault though. That'd be nice. Hello. Ooh, silver ring. Nice. And you also have to go check on the village because we might get some reward from the blacksmith maybe? I guess he wasn't really promising us a reward really. It was kind of like, this is kind of what we promised we'd do if he did the other things. He might not get a reward for it. But it's gotta be some experience points at least, right? Just something.
You return. Might you have news?
No. Well, let's talk with Jowan.
He awaits my brother's decision on his fate.
I would like him released.
No, I cannot do that.
Oh, my first persuasion fail. Oh, second one.
If Eamon wishes to pardon the mage, he will, when he awakes. Then I must resume my duties. The civil war continues, and Loghain is no doubt angered Redcliffe has not been disabled. Good luck, my friend. I hope this continues to go well for all our sakes.
Maybe you could use some help from, like, you know, other villages and things, other houses.
It is
by,
good you resolved
know,
this
maybe
deal.
having some proof.
Now we must either revive the Arl or allow Bantegan to take his place.
Maybe I should kill the Arl. That would expedite things, wouldn't it? I don't want to go here. I want to go here. No, I don't want to go here. I'm lost, dude. I should maybe check on the wizard. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll take a break right here because I want to check on the wizard as well. Oh. There you go. Drop a little save. Alright. Excellent. Right, I'm gonna go stretch a little bit and get a drink. I'll be right back in just like 5-ish minutes. See you soon. BRB. Yo, hello, I'm back. I'm back. Hello. Welcome back, everyone. I guess we start traveling in. I think the way out is here. Here we go. What a weird layout to this place. I think, you know, you got the sort of, well, not throne room, but, you know, big room. You'd have the exit right here, right? No. It's here. What the heck?
Yes.
Who does that? I'm unconvinced by this layout. Loading screens seem really strange. Something's gone wrong, I think, with the textures. I'm not quite sure what's up. Because it's a old game and doing old game things. I didn't see this in the last streams though. It's only recently started doing that weird thing. Now we can get our landmark tree. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I guess that was the fight to that Revenant. I thought there was something, you know, a bit harder than that. An extra fight, but I guess that was it. I mean, I guess I could see that guy being rough if, like, my guys weren't as geared. My guys are somewhat geared. And if, I didn't have the levels and stuff, like the spells and stuff that I had from doing the Mage Tower. So we got some choices now. Oh. Small town just off the Imperial Highway at the edge of the hinterlands, destroyed by Darkspawn. Hang on! Isn't Livering where that little town we were in at the start of the game? Isn't that like the tutorial town? Is that destroyed now? That's crazy. I can't think of where else that might be. Huh, I didn't realize that happened. That's cool. It's interesting. Well, I guess I don't really have like a reason to go to the Brazilian outskirts. But I do have some reason to go to Denerim, so I guess we'll go there, I guess. It's very far away. Aren't we gonna have a Darkspawn encounter now, just walking right through this mess here? No, we'll have one in Brazil though. In the Brazilian outskirts.
Sire, I have more news. Yes. Well, it seems that the fighting has gone
Enough.
exactly as you...
I would like to know what you intend to accomplish, Father. Should we not be fighting the Darkspawn instead of each other?
The nobility should be brought into line and then the Darkspawn defeated. This is no true blight, Honora. Only Kaelin's vanity demanded it be so.
Beg pardon, sire. But blight or no, we may not have the manpower to face the Darkspawn soon.
Kaelin approached your legions for support, did he
Never!
not?
Marek and I drove those bastards out! We'll not roll out the welcome for them now.
We need help, Father. We cannot deal with this crisis alone.
Ferelden will stand on its own. I will lead it through this, Honora. You must have faith in me.
Did you kill Kaelin?
Kaelin's death was his own doing.
That's like Kaelin's widow, right? Why is she still there? Like, I don't know, she really has no idea. No, well, I guess she has some idea. She raised the idea there that she knew there's a good chance, but I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily be having that many hopes for the guy that definitely killed my husband, you know? Also, this guy's called the Trickster Whim. It's got an orange name, be careful. I'm gonna steal from him. Oh, you know, he's tricky, he's tricksy. Her dad. Okay, she's Kelly's daughter, that's it. I see, I see. But you know, it's train times this. It's probably the same thing, right? Oh my god, these... No, it's the same guy. It's got illusions. Oh no. Hang on, this is kind of like a boss fight. I just remembered, my party is very clowny. We'll be able to get through this. Oh, I know, my party's fine because Win is here. And Win just makes every party okay, so it's fine. We're partying. What do you mean stealth is not high enough rank? Is it because he's a boss or something? Oh, I can't really be healing forever, can I? I kind of do have to rely on healing potions on some level. There we go. Okay, like while I'm in this circle, I can't do it. Once I exited that, was fine. Oh my god. You're fine, you're fine, you're fine. You're an assassin, keep tanking, you're fine. Mark of Death. It's almost like his tactics are wrong. Yeah, they are. There we go. Oh, hang on, he's got like dual wield moves, but he can't dual wield. I need to buy like a dagger, I guess. Well, this guy's got daggers. Hopefully that's where I get them. What's this move? Deadly Strike. Sure. Swing. Laser peasy. What skills do you have? Are you good at stealthing? Oh, he's really good at poisoning. Actually, his combat training is really good too. Wait, is Severin might actually be quite good now. If I could replace like my OC with Severin, that would probably be better. Yeah, his stealth is also good. Wait a second. What is your level? Yeah, he's level 11. He's got no health though. Yeah, he's got no health. Why? Is his con low? Oh, he's got 10 con. He's so squishy. That also means that his his points are like way more allocated into where they should be though, aren't they? Well, except for his willpower, which is very high. Drakeskin boots. That's a lot of defense. Or mage. Sure. Reduces hostility. Oh, that's quite nice though, isn't it? But, at some point you're gonna have to give up on certain nice effects if you just want to, you know, have some good armor on you. Wait, now I'm confused. It's her dad. Oh, Loghain is her dad, and she was Kaelin's wife, but she's Loghain's daughter. Yeah, okay. Now I understand. Now I understand the relationship. I was thinking like she's awfully not familiar, but you know, like friendly-ish with definitely the person who murdered her husband and someone who is incredibly sketchy. I mean, he just looks sketchy. He's got like that whole Disney villain thing going on where everyone can tell he's the villain. Oh, and we're done in the room. Cool. Alright, so now that we're here,
you must know that murder is wrong.
we have to find
I'm sorry, are you speaking to me?
the person with the sword, the one I saved.
A crisis of conscience.
Yes, that is exactly it.
Joke if you wish, but I have the feeling that deep down you regret the life you have lived.
It's true. I regret it all.
Must you be such a child? Are you incapable of a single serious conversation?
I know.
Oh, my conversation! Where are you going? Where she runs up to you happily, he appears to have found a friend. Oh, it's a friend. Puppy. Maker, where'd you get that? Put him back where he belongs. No, you can't keep him. Puppy. Oh, I thought I recognized the kid. I thought it was the one with the sword, you know? I will never get that sword. That kid would never give the sword up to me.
The bustle of a market district. The pickpockets home away from home.
That's exactly what I was thinking. He got me. I'm off. Ooh. Yeah, that's not bad. Can you wield that, Zebron? Yes, you can. Oh, but you need a dagger in your offhand, though. Okay. Gotta find you a dagger. Now, on one hand, yes, that's true. On the other hand, can you shout about being a pickpocket any louder? Very subtle.
You're a Grey Warden. Duncan's apprentice.
I might have to restart my game.
My friend. And good King too. I demand satisfaction, sir.
Do you know? Me, a Grey Warden? You must be mistaken.
Pardon me, sir. You must think I'm a fool. You really do look like... too much ale. Yes, too much. Excuse me.
I wonder what he's supposed to be wearing. Can't tell. Alright. Game is looking grotty. I am restarting it. I'm gonna see if that makes a difference. Oh my god. It shouldn't be any of the mods I've installed. Because there are mods. But I've only got the mods of audio variety. I've seen the files I've replaced, and they've only been like sound files. You know, for like making the combat quieter. There's no texture, so I don't know why it's doing that. Hopefully it's gonna stop now. At least the loadings look fine now. The loadings looked really cursed before. Oh, fuck me. It just crashed. Also, making that grimace really hurt. Because I got really horrible skin right now because of this winter, man. It's rough out there. It's rough. I guess I shouldn't have quit the game. I seemingly can't launch Dragon Age anymore. It's not working. So I'm gonna have to try something, I guess. Well, this did not go the way I planned. I don't even know why it's doing this. I have two saves though. I got a quick save and I got this save. What the hell? Yes, do that, I guess. I don't know if this is gonna make a difference, but I'm running the game in compatibility mode. Let's see if that works. I have no idea what's in this. Alright, let's try to load a quick save as well, I guess. See if it makes a difference. That didn't work. It's just totally broken. Oh, I guess there's also the subtitles mod. That is the other thing I've installed. Why did it decide to break like now though? That's really confusing. Ah, shit. And it was going so well. I'm gonna try this. This one. That. Okay. This might work. I tried reinstalling the subtitle mod in case that works. In case that like broke for some reason. Maybe reinstalling it is gonna fix it. And then it's fine, maybe? No. I'm gonna go to the audio mods, and I'm gonna take those out of where they are, because they're not actually overwriting anything. Like, I haven't overwritten any files. The game is like sort of replacing things that with what I put in this folder, if I can find it. If I can find it, where is it? Override, there we go. So I guess I make a new folder here called like mods, and I store this in here. And I'm gonna launch the game again, and we'll see if it works like that. I can also like run the game in like full screen or something, maybe. See if that helps. Because it could be just a silly thing like that, who knows. It's still crashing. Why is it so upset? Maybe it's just my save that's busted. Maybe my save just broke when I entered Denerim. I can try loading another save and see if that works. If these old saves also break, I might be able to... Oh, fuck. Shit. Oh, okay, well, I know what the issue is now, I guess. It's Denerim, isn't it? Okay, but... if you load another save and then you load this save, then it's fine? Oh my god, this is baffling. Old game be old, I guess. I don't know how we can account for that happening. Rough. Save this often. I don't know what to do about that. I mean, like, the game didn't even crash there. Like, I quit the game out myself when that happened, right? So, like, I don't even know what, like, triggered that to start happening. Oh, the game is so weird. Why is it like this? The graphics are all, like, fucked up. Like, this is, like, mostly correct. It's like the lighting that's frigged, I think. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to troubleshoot this later. Frig. Don't believe the lies. Friends of the Grey Wardens, assemble. The hidden pearl holds the key to resistance. The Griffins will rise again. The Griffins? This Grey Warden sympathizes out there.
Looks like the fighting has finally started. Too much to hope they work it out, I guess.
I hear Ban Bronak got his helmet handed to him.
Master Ignacio. Oh my god, what are those things? What is your armor?
I'm off. Another visitor, Maestro. Enjoy browsing my wares.
I'll enjoy browsing your wares. I will not enjoy looking at what the hell you're wearing. What sort of goods do you have?
And I have trade connections all along the seaways. We have furniture, silks, carvings, and much more. Caesar handles the trade stock. I handle other affairs.
You aren't from Ferelden, are you?
No, I am not. I am a trader at heart. My home is the road. But I was born past the waking sea in Antiva. It has been many, many years since I have seen her. But the road is a better mistress than my home city ever was.
What do you mean?
On the docks of Rialto, Life is cheap as the dockside ale and the soiled whore.
This sucks, man.
You can live a longer life out here, and a wise man can make a comfortable fortune in time.
With the Blight, Ferelden isn't exactly safe either.
Straightforward, predictable danger is refreshing to me. Any moment in Rialto, the streets can run red, and often do. I'd take Darkspawn any day. At least you can see them coming.
Sure, it's a devil you know. You need any help?
No. Not yet. Perhaps one day.
He needs help, he just doesn't trust us.
Luck be to you, Warden.
Thank you. What do you mean, Warden? I didn't say that. Oh my god, he knows. Oh no, the bear! What is this? The bear has like the textures of like his clothes.
If you have coin, welcome to our shop. If not, move along. Too many refugees blocking customers.
Have anything for sale?
Oh, yes.
Right. We need like a little dagger. Ooh, hello. Oh my god. Critical backside damage? Yes, please. Let's see, what do we do here? What do we do? Oh, actually, I've got a good amount of gold now. I guess I earned it back. Very nice. So I can buy this without feeling too bad about it. The enchanter staff looks pretty crap. I don't need that. Ooh. Red steel. I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you, though. Okay, Dragon Age is not working out very well. Dragon Age, unfortunately, seems kind of broken. There's not too much time in the stream left though, and I don't really have another game ready. But we'll try again, I guess. I think if it crashes again, we'll just call the stream early or something. I think, and I'll try to see what's wrong with the game. Yeah, it just. So it always crashes on load. If I try to load directly into the save from the menu, it always crashes. So the one thing I can do is I can load something like this, like an earlier save, and everything looks normal here, right? The armors look fine. Everything is expected here, I think. Yeah. And then I can load here. And that seems to work. Oh, the bear's fine now. And so are your clothes. Oh my god, yeah. Oh no, it's breaking. It like... It breaks as you play. Yeah, the bear's fucked now as well. I think it just doesn't like Denerim. It just doesn't gel well with Denerim. So I guess I have another proposition. What if you leave Denerim and we go to like the Brazilian forest or something? Set it to only run on one core by affinity and run in DirectX 9. Okay, well, I can try the core thing at least. That's like a very standard old game fix, isn't it? Dragon Age Origins, set affinity, boop, then I did this, and then I did this. It does crash if I do that. 1 core doesn't sound like a whole lot, does it? Is that gonna be enough for me? Also, I don't know the DirectX settings are. I don't actually exactly have like an option for that when starting the game. I'll have a quick look there. Steam launch, ARG, DX9. Oh my god, the config thing, the thing I have for like configuring the game, you know, that crashed. My settings thing crashed. Is that whole thing the launch argument? Like Steam launch? Or is it just launch ARG? Oh, it's just DX9. Okay, thank you. Just dash DX9. Thank you, thank you. Alright, let's see if that makes a difference. I'm so sorry about this, everyone. I'm sorry. I didn't think this was gonna happen tonight. Oof. Oof. Oh, the game's loading. That was a good start. Let's launch this. It's still crashing. I didn't program the game, to be honest. It's true. I have never in my life worked over at BioWare. So that's a comfort at least. I don't have to take that you know, on my shoulder necessarily. Affinity. 1 core of the CPU. Resume. And it crashes. So I still have to do the same trick then as before for playing the game. I think I might have to like troubleshoot like Denerim specifically. Denerim seems to be like the place that broke. Like everything's been fine except for Denerim, right? Yeah, there's been crashing issues, but nothing this like to this severity, you know. Nice. I'm gonna do the trick again, I guess. Save 5. And then the actual save. Alright, so you can tell that the game's chugging a little bit more now, because I'm on 1 core. Oh, it's still doing it.
Dwarven crafts. Find dwarven crafts.
It's still doing it. Yeah, so
you won't find better.
oh my god, look at that guy. Look at all those guys. Yeah, okay. Let's get the frig out of here. Let's go to the Brazilian outskirts. And I'll try to sort this mess out later. Yeah, it's this whole friggin' city. Wait, can I even leave? I can't even leave. There's one thing I can do. Like, this might be an issue of me, like, having to restart my computer as well. Like, who knows? But I can go back here to this autosave. Like I said, I didn't actually do very much here, right? Like, where is this? Yeah, this looks like just after the exorcism, right? Yeah, I went down here, I got pretty lost. I was looting different places in here. I found a vault. I was like, ooh, yummy. And I tried to get in there. I couldn't do it. How do I get out of it? Oh, it's here, isn't it? Oh yeah, we got another poster that's specifically talking about Denerim, yeah, so it's a known issue, at least among the community. Cool, alright, so I don't think I did very much at all after this autosave here. I just went to Denerim. Fix for them seems to be load a different save, then load back into Denerim. That sounds like a familiar fix. Ah. We saw this already. Am I gonna get like any consequences though for like helping the owl later? Might be like time constrained. This feels like a bummer. You know what? It's almost 9. It's like a quarter to 9. I'm gonna curse stream, eh? Oof. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I did not mean for things to go this way. Oof. I think we just call it here and I just see if we can do anything about it. Does kind of seem like there's nothing I can do about it. Like it seems kind of cursed that like it keeps crashing and I can't seem to enter any loading screen. Because that's kind of the issue here. Like at least I have these saves here. So I should make another save called like pre-Denerim save. There we go. Like the issue is this. If I'm in Denerim here. Oh yeah, I did actually turn on full screen. Let's put it on windowed again, I guess. Sure.
Dwarven crafts. Fine dwarven
The issue is if I'm in Denerim now. And I want to like, say, go in this house here. Wade's Emporium. If I click this, don't I just crash? Okay, it's not totally like hopeless being in Denerim. But fuck, I hope we can finish Denerim. But like, what if like we just can't finish Denerim? What if it just at some point it just doesn't let us like get past this area, you know? We're in abyss now,
By
yep.
order of the new Earl of Denerim, no one is to enter the alienage.
But I'm from the
You
alienage.
might not want to say that too loudly. Your kinfolk aren't exactly popular at the moment.
Why's that?
They were writing, killed the Earl's son. With the whole Urian family dead, the regent appointed Rendon Howe of Amaranthine the new Earl of Denerim. First thing he did was lead a purge of the alienage. It's a mess in there. When things are put back in order, the gates will be...
A mess in there. That sounds like a soft way to put it. Okay, maybe this isn't the worst thing ever. It's gonna look scuffed as hell for a little while. But as long as we save often, we just keep saving, we might be okay. Oh, it's genitive zone. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so this is what I was worried about. What just happened right there? Where I see somewhere I have to enter, and the game just crashes. So I can't progress. That's exactly what I was worried about. Oh no, don't load that. Can't load that. We have to load this, then we have to load this. But I'm not in the house now. And it's a consistent problem as well, isn't it? No, it just happens sometimes. Okay. What the frick is right, man? Woof.
What are you doing? You're not supposed to go in there.
I just wanted to explore.
I'm sorry, but that room is not for guests. It's full of books and papers, and I'd rather they were not disturbed.
I go where I want.
I said no. Genevieve was a very private person.
You're hiding something. I want to know what it is.
No, don't touch that door!
Oh my god, he's fighting me. He's a wizard. Oh, well, and you're like the blood mage, right? I think they were talking about the blood mage being here. Oh my god, did he freaking die? Waylon, you didn't have to go out that way. What's in here? Genitive research, that's the thing you want. Nice. Oh, there's a freaking corpse here. The body of the real Waylon. Oh, there really was no diplomacy to be had. I see, that's messed up. And that's why the game is so frigged, because the real Waylon friggin' died, got murdered. And the performance of the game died with him. I guess I got what I came for, right? I guess I just wanted the research, so I'm good now. Worship of dragons. Who would do that? It doesn't look like this is some sort of dragon age or anything. I think I have a theory on maybe how I can leave Denerim. It seems like things get worse. Right? They start fairly normal, then they get worse. Yeah, look, the walls look okay now. So maybe what I want to do is like save at the door or something. And then like, then load that and then leave. Right? It's like now I got the research, so now I got to get back to the Arl, right? But how am I gonna do that if I'm not allowed to leave that room? I can't get out. Yeah, look, the armors, they're staying relatively normal. I wish I could go like a first-person view and like not look at people as much as I can, but this is as close as I can zoom in, unfortunately. Alright, don't touch the door. Save first. We got a quick save. And then we load this one, maybe? I don't know. No, it's see, once the game's fucked, it stays fucked. You have to restart. Did you see like the game, like the weird loading screen there? Like all the textures were fucked. Like it just completely fucks the whole game. What if you nuke a text or something that's the load? That's maybe not a bad idea. I mean, it's not like the textures are amazing anyway, right? They're pretty bad. Honestly, I don't see much difference. And then you load this. And the game is like largely unmessed up now, so this should work. It does. Oh my god, there's so much Denerim, dude. There's too much, there's too much. Village of Haven. Why did they glisten up? I guess that worked. All this hardship will make us strong or something. I don't know. I feel like my character should be. If my characters were getting experience points, then I'd be all for it. Trap detected. No. No! Why's my cat arguing with me about finding traps? Oh my god, why? Why are there so many of them? Got him. Oh my god, it's so slow. Oh, it needs a dagger real bad, man. If only I could have bought a dagger in Denerim. Did I meant to do that? No, I did not. It crashed when I was trying to do that, so no dagger for me. Alright, one of you has got to have had a dagger. Come on, come on. Oh, they're in potion, that's good. Yummy. There was like one place, I think, that like must have messed up my graphics as well before Denerim, right? Because like my graphics were like kind of swirly and like there was something kind of funny going on. I was making fun of it, like around Al Eamon's place. I feel like maybe the fade. Maybe that's where like things got a bit fucked up for me. Also, yes, I will disarm every single one of these traps for the experience points. There's so many of them. Like, count this all together, it's like 300 experience points at least. Like, probably more. Hang on, we can multitask this. Think? Yes. Oh, you're slow at it. Oh no, is this failing the disarms? God damn it. The more XP you have, the stronger you are, the faster you finish the room. Yes, exactly. We have to finish Denerim because we have to get to the dwarf place because that's the coolest place. Okay, that's all I want. That's all I want. So far, so good. Oh my god! No, now we got that like broken gaming anxiety, man. I got that feeling that like everything might just break at any moment. Feels bad, man. Woof. Yeah, now I'm living. I'm more powerful now because now I feel alive. Hey, Bantegan.
Return. Might you have news?
Yeah, Denerim is a bad place. It's a silly place. Don't go though.
Unchanged, I'm afraid. We've tried more magical healing, but nothing works. As time passes, I become more and more convinced the urn might be our only hope. Then I must resume my duties. The civil war continues, and Loghain is no doubt angered Redcliffe has not been disabled. Good luck, my friend.
I thought that I would have gotten more information now, because I got the journal. I don't know, maybe I should have checked my quests first. Before I decided to go back here. I'm a bit flustered. Brother TV's research suggests that the village of Haven in the mountains to the west might have some clues as to the location of the urn. Brother TV must have gone to Haven to continue research. Ah, I see. I was wondering, like, why did Haven just pop up there? What the heck? Now I know why. I thought it was because of, like, something I did in Denerim that caused the Haven to pop up. Haven. But we're in roughly the right place anyway, so no ways to travel anything. Well, we're in Haven. And it's almost 9. So I propose next stream we leave the exploration of Haven until then. And we use the rest of the time to sign the stream off instead. Wow. Wowie! Have a 7-day break time, yep. Oh, I cannot wait for the 7-day break. No, I would love to stream more. I just, it's hard to find the time sometimes. I think, maybe I'll think about having shorter streams. maybe like if I want to stream more, it's kind of like I gotta have them like quite late. That's kind of the issue. Like if I want to stream more, it's gotta be later streams, which I'll be happy with. I think for some it would be a little bit too late, so it wouldn't be great. But we'll see. It can be a combination of like shorter streams and later streams because I've been quite married to the whole 3-hour stream thing, but I think I could have time for more streams more often if I did like 2 hours. And that way we might have some hope of actually finishing Dragon Age. I don't know how long this game is, but it strikes me as something that'll take some time, like 30-40 hours at least, right? Might need a 7-day break after this though. Oof. Yeah, Denerim, it wasn't too bad up until we found Denerim, but once we found Denerim, it was really bad. It was really bad. We ain't on it of 3 hours. Less around time, more poke density. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, right? Is that if you have like not necessarily like very long streams, you kind of condense my my energy a bit, and yeah, like you get more poke density, as you put it, as you eloquently put it. So I think it's something to consider. So I thought about maybe it would be nice to stream some more than I am right now, because one stream a week feels a bit low. Granted, there have been long ass streams that fucking rocked, thank you. But it's definitely easier to be on for less time. Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Like you gotta respect other people's time. Yeah, I think you can still do like the longer streams when it calls for it. Like I can't remember in like long streams I've done now. Like the longest stream I probably did was like Persona 5, and the end of it, that was like a 6-hour stream at the very end. Because like they don't really give you a whole lot of time to like save at a certain point, so I just kept fucking going. And it was like 4 AM by the time I finished. Fewer breaks though, we have to do a break every 30 minutes. You get one Persona song every 30 minutes. I think we'll be fine with less breaks. I think we'll be alright. But yeah, there will at least be a new stream on Tuesday. Next week. At least then. And maybe I squeeze in a little stream somewhere on a Sunday or Thursday or something. We'll see. Or Friday. Yeah, maybe one of those days. Go squeeze in a little stream somewhere. But definitely on Tuesdays. Hope to see you all then. Thank you for all for joining the stream. And sorry. I'm so sorry. Hope to see you next time. Despite everything. Cheers everyone. Thank you. Good night. Take it easy. See ya. Have a good one. Bye-bye.